Hola queriditos! I just had my largest product launch and I thought instead of doing my usual chaos vlog, I would take this as an opportunity to show you how I come up with products for my stationery shop. So I'm gonna go literally from coming up with an idea for a project all the way through to launch day. If this is your first time here, my name is Reina and I run an online store called Quiero Prints where I sell what I like to call cute cositas for the Spanglish fluent. Whenever I brainstorm product ideas, the first thing I think about is my audience and what they like. I can go over audience persona later on in a brand strategy video, but for now let's focus on the part of the brand strategy that involves my rules for what makes a Quiero Prints product. Every Quiero Prints product must be Spanglish. This can mean either both languages or one or the other as long as it is something like Mexican American or Latino American. It has to be nostalgic, so remind you of your childhood, the way you grew up. It has to be cute and fun, obviously, and it has to be useful or in demand. I know I probably sound like I'm going overboard thinking about these things, but most large companies actually have rules like this for their target markets. Did you know even Disney has a list of what's required for a princess to be considered an official Disney princess? Seriously, look it up, it's bonkers. Creating rules and styles for your customers, your characters, your products, whatever you have in your business is extremely important because this is how customers will end up associating certain feelings, colors with your brand. For my product, I ended up deciding on a 3-pack of pens called the Échale Ganas glitter pen set. And just by the product name alone, people can assume a few things already. First, there's the Spanglish. Even though it's called the Échale Ganas pen set, the fact that Échale Ganas and pen set are next to each other implies that it is a Spanish-made or inspired product being sold by an English-speaking shop. Then there's the phrase échale ganas. It's something that someone with a similar background to mine might have heard growing up. The product itself is pens, which depending on your lifestyle might be something that you use every day. I tend to target customers that love paper goods, so they're usually students or office employees. If I happen to mention it in passing or if I just write a tweet or a thread about it, they'll know that this is a product for them without even looking at it. And beyond the name, once you look at the photo, you'll notice it's cute, it has iridescent glitter, it has different colors, so it's cute, it's useful, it's Mexican American, and it's everything that my customers already expect from me. Once I had my product idea, I went into Adobe Illustrator and picked the fonts and colors I wanted to use and started creating the artwork files that I would send out for production. They don't have to be perfect or complete just yet because, spoiler alert, your product might not even end up looking how you imagined. But you should have your ideal files ready and make sure they're either easily editable or easy to save for production. And saving it for printing would probably entail outlining your fonts, expanding your strokes, providing Pantone colors if applicable, and if that sounded like a bunch of graphic designer jargon, it's because it is. That's where I came from. Graphic design is my passion. If you're interested, I can go over all of that in a separate video. But for now, we're just doing a full overview of the process. So once I had my idea ready, I went off to look for manufacturers. In the past, I've only designed paper goods, which are very easy to find locally in the US. But because what I was looking for was more specific and harder to make, I went to Alibaba to find a supplier. What I like to do is search for the product first and see what everyone else has to offer. So for example, I typed glitter pens into the search and I found all of these, and then based on the photos and years in business, I opened up a few tabs of the ones that seemed reliable. One thing I always do before I even start a search is check the trade assurance and verified suppliers buttons, because the trade assurance protects you against scammers. Some of them will try to get you to pay through PayPal, which is like where a lot of scams happen. So this allows you to pay straight through Alibaba, giving you that extra layer of protection. And then verified suppliers usually get assessed by inspection companies first, so you can actually see all of their inspection reports and just like more information about how they run their business. I also generally search for suppliers that have been on there like 6 or more years. Honestly, the longer the better, because usually if they've been in business longer, they have reviews and like just more products and options for you to choose choose from. If you want to know which supplier I ended up going with for the pens, because maybe you're interested in that for your own shop, I do have my product suppliers list available in the shop, so you can get that for the price of a couple cups of coffee. Unless you're in Los Angeles, then it's probably like 1 cup of coffee. Before even reaching out to suppliers, I usually have all the details ready about my product. So this can include the color, size, material, whether you're gonna have a custom logo, a custom design, whether you need retail packaging. Think of anything to do with like the physical existence of your product and what is needed from it, because you're gonna want to provide all that information to them. So once I've settled on a few manufacturers, I always message them through the product page of the product that I want to buy and ask for a quote. I usually say something along the lines of, hey, I'm interested in a custom blank, and I usually paste the exact string of words that they use to describe that product just so they know I'm talking about it, and then I'll give bullet points of all the details that I already thought about when it comes to my product. I'll also give them the quantity I'm looking for, and if I'm asking for a quote, I usually also ask them to include shipping in that, and I let them know what my address is so that they can calculate how much it's going to cost them and add that to the final price. There's a few things that usually happen during this stage, so let me just prepare you for that. First thing they'll do is request more details, usually from an automated message. Some of these you provided, some of these you haven't. Another thing they might tell you is that their MOQ is actually way higher than what you requested. You might go in thinking you only wanted to order like 30 or 40 of something, only to find out that they have a minimum order quantity of 500. Just know that if you're ordering something custom, the MOQ is always going to be higher. So this is what happened to me with the pens. Because I needed 3 specific designs with 3 different colored pens, they were like, whoa, yeah, you're gonna have to order at least thousands of these, otherwise it's gonna cost you way more than it's worth to even buy them. These foos will humble you. So that's when I made some adjustments and decided that instead of 3 different pens, I would order the same pen for all 3 designs, and that's when I had to adjust my mock-up and my artwork accordingly. This met their MOQ, so I was able to order 1,500 of the same pen with 3 different designs for my pen set. Another thing to note is that at this stage, they'll usually request your custom logo or artwork. By the way, they'll use the word logo instead of artwork or design, because I guess most companies just slap their logos onto a product for promotional purposes. But just so you know, if they say logo, they mean whatever design you have. You can provide this to them if you want to order samples, but if you just wanted a quote because you're still shopping around, you can let them know it's not ready yet and that for now you just want a quote. So once I've gathered all my quotes and I've narrowed it down to a factory or 2, I will put in my request for a sample of the product. This is so I can test the quality myself and make sure that it actually is the colors, the size, and everything else that I wanted. If you get a sample of something they already have in stock, it's usually free, but you'll have to pay for shipping. If it's something more custom, it'll probably cost more because of all the extra work required to manufacture just one of something. Like imagine they're just churning out a bunch of stuff every day and then they have to like stop, we just need to make this one thing for this one person. One thing you can also do if you don't want to pay for shipping but you still do want to pay for the sample to get made is have them make it and then send you pictures and videos of it, and then once you place the large order they can just send you those along with the rest. I'll be honest, I didn't order samples this time around because I had used this manufacturer before and so I already had an idea of their quality, but for the sake of this video I'm gonna go through all parts of the process, so let's pretend I did. Once I reviewed the samples from different manufacturers, I picked the one I wanted to purchase and sent them a message letting them know that I like the product and I'd like to move forward with mass production. And I'll usually add, please send me an invoice for X amount of this product. At this point, they'll usually request your address, phone number if they don't already have it, and then from that point, I usually receive my packages within a month. It can vary a lot just depending on what's required to make the product, but with the pens, it took, I would say, around a month from me submitting the invoice to it arriving at my doorstep. Alright, so now that you know what product you're gonna go with, you're gonna want some pictures, you're gonna want some videos, because you have an online store, right? So you kind of need these things in order to sell them. If you ordered samples and the samples look exactly like how the manufactured ones are gonna look, you can actually start working on them before everything else even arrives. So what I'll usually do with the samples is take my product photos, talk about them on my Instagram stories, take some videos for when I launch. I try to get all that stuff prepared before the final product even arrives. Some shop owners even create a pre-order page for it so that they already have all their orders in before it gets there. I don't usually do that because I get too scared that they're gonna come in defective or something, but when I do post about the product, I make sure I always have some sort of call to action, whether it's sign up for the mailing list so you know when they launch, or if it's an IG story, I'll maybe add a countdown so people get a notification when it's ready. If you're talking about the product before it exists, make sure you're always adding a call to action. That is the most important thing. Make sure that even though it's not here ready to ship, that when it is ready to ship, it's already going to be in their cart on day one. It's going to be on their Instagram, it's going to be in their email, it's going to be in their TikTok, wherever you market your products, they're already going to know about it. So I've done all this pre-production work and the pens are finally at my doorstep. I am so excited. It is time to start selling them. Right? Nope. There's still a matter of checking the quality of each item, taking inventory of how many you received that are sellable quality, and adding packaging. Although if you included packaging with your manufacturer, you can skip a step or two. So I actually do QA and packaging at the same time, because if I'm putting a product in a box or in a bag, then I'm already looking at it, right? So I might as well just check it to see if it's good to go. That's something I recommend you do if you have packaging for yours. For these pens, I decided on a header card and a clear bag so you can read the text that's written on them. But not all products need packaging like this, especially if you run an online store. But if you do plan on selling something wholesale or in person, then I do recommend protective packaging. And I usually start the packaging process before orders even come in. Because I had to order so many pens and I have issues with my hands sometimes, I actually got help from my cousins and we did a little bit of a packing party. As we packaged, we looked for any scratches, misprints, and mistakes. Anything with mistakes went straight into our seconds box. After that, I made sure to count how many good packaged ones there were so I can add the quantity to my shop, and I added the seconds into my bigger seconds bin so I could sell them in mystery packs later on. Once everything was ready to go, I was able to plan out and send out my final launch campaign. I should point out that before any of the launch campaign stuff I'm about to tell you about, I had been sharing every detail about these pens on Instagram stories. Before I sent the mock-ups to the supplier, I showed it to my audience to make sure they liked it. This made sure that 1, the product would sell because my audience likes it, and 2, it makes them feel like part of the process because they are. I make these things for my audience, not for me. When the samples arrived, I unboxed them on stories. Basically, anytime anything related to these pens happened in my life, I talked about it live, made sure they could see it, and just got people generally involved in the story of this product. You want to get your audience excited about your product before it even exists. Without that excitement, your official launch isn't going to be very successful. For my final campaign, I usually focus on Instagram and email because that's where my customers are. Yours might be different depending on where your ideal customer hangs out. First, I wrote the copy for my email and then I went on to design it. I also turned that email into a banner for the website. As far as Instagram, I created a reel using a trending sound using clips from my product video, which ends up being the same product video that goes on the product page on Shopify. I would normally do an organic video of myself just talking and introducing the product to people because those are good to repost on TikTok too. But to be honest, I had ran out of time for this launch and I already had those clips, so I just went ahead with those. So how did it go? The first week of the launch, I sold about 30 pen sets, which if you saw my boba straws video where I only sold 3 of them, you'll know that's a great turnout for my shop. Sales have definitely slowed down this year, which is why I'm putting more of an emphasis on my pre-launch and launch campaigns. What's great is that it seems to have worked. I'd never really sold 30 of something immediately like that. My shop is usually very slow to sell single products like that, so that was super cool. If you have any questions about any part of the process, let me know in the comments. I can probably make a video for each section we just went through going into even more specific details, so literally don't be afraid to ask. And if you made it this far, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up or a comment if you feel more inclined to do that. I run my stationery shop and my design business on Cafecito and Chaos, so if you want to see more of this hot mess jefa, please subscribe. But seriously, just know that I appreciate you so much, and I'll catch you next time. And if you're a returning subscriber, I am so so sorry if I sounded different today. I tried to do a scripted video, so I made sure I gave you all the details, but as I was reading it, I just didn't feel like I sounded like myself. So thank you for watching my struggles. Okay, for real this time. Bye!